I have so many questions. Organic, free range. There's so many things you have to think about before you buy the right cut of meat. We've got an expert butcher here to sort it out for us. And then it is time to bring out the white items for your wardrobe because it is spring, almost summer. We've got both those things today on Full Plate.
It's like I'm seeing all the blue skies, and I'm walking on the edge tonight. It feels so right, and I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Rebecca Rainier.
Welcome to Full Plate, just like the song says. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Rebecca Rainier, and joining me today is an expert butcher. Rusty Field, you've been a butcher for your whole life, for the most part?
Since 1972,
What did you were a kid then, right?
16.
What made
If
you
we're doing
just
the math.
If we won't no math. That's one of the rules. No actual math, just estimate. But you were a teenager and decided this is what you wanted to do.
Actually, my dad decided for me. I really wasn't looking for a job, and Dad says, "Hey,
You're
got
looking
a
for
job.
a job.
You got one.
So
Go."
is your dad a butcher also?
No.
No, but he thought this would be a good path for you to try. And you never got off the path. This was the right choice for you.
Seems to be.
It
You
seems
get
to
too
be.
old now to do anything else. So,
But just so people know, you work for it's called St. Mary's.
St. Mary's Meats.
St. Mary's Meats. And in the last few years, you've seen a lot of people coming in with questions. Talk about that. We see different news stories or cooking shows or even, oh, this is going to be bad for me. All kinds of information comes to us about what kind of meat we should buy. What kind of questions do you get at the store?
Mainly, people are coming in wanting to know where their meat is coming from. Is it local? Is it organic? Is it free range? And there's a lot of confusion about what all of that means.
So they'll come in and say, I want organic something, or I want, and they don't even really know what they want, they just know those buzzwords.
Right.
What's the
exactly.
biggest mess up people make? Like, oh, I want it to be this, or, they walk in and they say they want something, they don't really want that.
Right. And probably the biggest one there is organic. They
Organic.
really don't understand what organic means or all the things involved with that go along with just not only how the animal is fed, but how that feed is also raised to be organic feed as well.
Okay, so let's take a look. We have a little bit of a graphic here. There are a lot of different categories in terms, your meat, a lot of it starts at the beginning, and that is how is that animal raised?
Right. Correct.
Okay, so what we have here are kind of the categories that we're looking at. Organic, free range, natural, grass-fed, humane, and no added hormones. Those are all different things?
Yes.
Those are all different things.
And it can be all combined.
It could be
That's kind of-
everything
yes.
or nothing.
Exactly.
What's the difference between going to a butcher or going to a main grocery store chain? I've been seeing, there was a trend to put everything in one big place and one big, mega store. Are you seeing more and more people returning to the way, my grandparents had a corner butcher.
Right.
Bigger cities, they're disappearing, but now they're reappearing. That having a butcher might be your best bet when it comes to knowing what of these categories the meat has been raised in, right?
Correct.
Are you seeing a lot of people coming back to the butcher shop?
Yes, like I say, more and more people just wanting to know. They're getting involved and wanting to know. The biggest problem I see is they don't know the questions to ask.
So what should they ask?
Where's it coming from? Who's raising it? How is it packaged? How long has it been in that package?
Right.
Those types of things.
So when we talk about, let's start with that, since organic is one that is the most confusing and the most, I guess, the question that you get. There was a big stink about a year ago about this green slime that was in ground beef, and it's a
pink
filler,
slime, yes.
pink slime,
Right.
pink slime. Green would also probably be bad. But it was
stand
a
out
filler.
more.
It would stand out. You at least could see it, which maybe would be helpful.
Right.
But it was it's a filler.
Right. It's what they called actually mechanically removed from the bone.
Mechanically removed from the
Yeah.
bone. So the
Whatever.
opposite of natural, that seems to me.
Right.
So when we talk about organic, what does that mean? What is organic?
Organic, actually, according to what we're going to talk about more today, is actually what the USDA says that those are, because a lot of the way the farmers raise the animal has to
Meet those guidelines.
meet those guidelines. Then after that, it's buyer beware.
See, that's the
And-
thing I think, you can look for that symbol on the package, but it doesn't necessarily mean you get what you think you're getting. People think organic, well, that's going to be totally natural and it'll be fine. That pink slime had organic labels on some of those. That's where people were freaking out because this says organic, but this isn't. I mean, that's a concern for people.
We actually, my wife and I went to a store and they had a big section of organic meats. And I started asking questions. I'm like, can I see the documentation that proves to me that that chicken is truly organic? Because if I'm going to pay $5.99 a pound for a chicken, I want to see the documentation.
Right, right.
Per pound.
Did they give it to you? Could they give it to you?
They didn't even know what it meant. The gal that was actually waiting on me, she says, there is no such thing. And I'm like, well, I hate to differ with you, but there is such a thing, and I'd like to see that. We can't provide that to you. She went and got the manager, and the manager comes out, and he says, sir, there is no such thing. I said, well, let me tell you what I do for a living, and I can tell you there is such a thing.
What kind of training did you have to become a butcher? What goes into it?
Basically, I started, like say, sophomore in high school, and clean up, make hamburger patties, all that kind of thing, and was just lucky to have good people that taught me the right way. Now, you're going back in time to where one of the questions you asked me earlier was about what's the difference between what we do at a local butcher shop versus your big box stores. Our stuff doesn't come in boxes.
You have the animal.
It's raised locally there. We slaughter our own animals. We process them there. We're inspected daily by the Department of Agriculture to make sure everything is clean and operating well. Also, they are there the whole time the animals are being slaughtered to make sure there's no disease, which is another whole
area
to get into.
So how do I find a butcher shop like you? I'm from around here, so I know I can go to yours. I know where there's a butcher shop by my house that I have a good relationship with. But if people are thinking, okay, I did do my regular grocery shopping at the big box store, but I think I want to make this decision for my family. I want to go to a butcher for the meats that we're buying. How do you find?
There's actually several around the area surrounding Toledo. Probably not so much in the city itself, just because of.
But anywhere. I mean, if you're in Pennsylvania or if you're in New York, you look for. Is there an agency that certifies butcher shops?
Yes, in Ohio, it's the Ohio Department of Agriculture. You can actually get a list from. And Ohio is a little different than just crossed into Michigan. There is a Department of Agriculture, but they're not doing meat inspection.
But do a little bit of investigation.
Right.
To find
exactly.
a good butcher shop.
Right. Exactly.
All right, so we're kind of all over the place there, but I want to go back to that organic.
Right.
What is it?
What the Department of Ag says is, according to their terms, is a product that has been processed through approved methods.
Okay,
Pretty
but
vague.
it still can have fertilizers, sewage.
Right.
I mean, some of those things that.
There's basically 4 things they're saying that you can't do
Okay.
to be organic.
All
One
right.
is
And I think I've got a list
synthetic
there.
fertilizers.
Okay. You can't have that.
Right.
Okay. You can have no synthetic fertilizers, no sewage sludge. They test for that stuff, I hope. Okay.
Sewage sludge is kind of a new one, actually. And if you, I've just found the Facebook. It's a wonderful thing.
The Facebook
The Facebook.
and the tweet.
And the tweet. Right. Right.
Hey,
but-
better late than never.
Right. Yesterday there was actually an article about sewage sludge and how they actually manufacture that and put it on the crops to raise. So if you're looking for organic and you're buying from a farmer that's using that, is it truly organic or isn't it?
Right.
So that
No.
you got to
gotta
look
watch for that.
further than just
That one label.
Exactly.
Irradiation is another thing it's not
irradiation.
supposed to.
Some of them are using X-rays to actually see how much fat or marbling is in the meat, and
That's bad. Or not organic. It's not
right,
organic.
Right. If you do that, that's not organic.
And finally, the one that freaks me out is the genetic engineering. They cannot be genetically engineered
Right.
animals.
Right.
But can they eat genetically engineered corn?
According to the USDA, they can.
See?
Now, my opinion is different.
Right. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. You may think your meat is organic, but what is your meat eating? Okay, stay with us. We're going to get into that in just a moment. That's the thing.